Any user in Dynamics 365 for Talent that has security has the ability to personalize the appearance of their pages. For my example, I'm going to demonstrate to you how to create simple personalization, and then I'll show you how the system administrator can control personalization. So I'm going to navigate to Personnel Management, and then I'm going to click on the Links tab of the workspace and open up the Workers page. Once the Worker page opens, you can see the details and the default layout of this particular page. From any page in the system, you have the ability to make simple personalization changes to update the layout of any screen. For example, let's say I don't want to display the personnel number as the third column. Instead, I want it to be the first column. What I'll do is right-click on the personnel number field and then select Personalize Personnel Number. This will open up a small dialog over the field. Here, I can actually update this, and let's say I want to call this the employee ID. I can update that description. I can also optionally select to hide an entire field, skip a field in the tab sequence, or specify that the field cannot be edited, which will prevent me from accidentally making changes or updates to a field. In order to move this, I need to select the Personalize this form option. This opens up a new toolbar that you'll see over the top of the form. There are various buttons in this toolbar that allow me to personalize the form in different ways. By default, you'll be on the cursor, which allows you to select a particular element. So right now, I've selected the employee ID. If I want to move a field, I need to select the Move icon, which is the second icon on your toolbar. I'll select the field, and then I'll drag and drop it to the first column in the grid. You can see that the column has now been relocated. I can also resize the column to make it smaller or larger depending on the amount of data that's in that field. For example, let's say I want to squish the phone number field down because it's never any larger than the number of digits displayed here. If I want to make a particular field not visible, I can do that by selecting the Not Visible icon, which is an eyeball with a small Do Not Enter symbol over it, and then select the field. This will hide the column that I've selected. We also have the ability to relabel fields, move fields, and edit the description of our fields. Let's say I also want to add a new field. I'm going to use the Add icon, and then I'll select the grid where I want to add a new field. This will open up a new screen. Let's say I want to add in the social media information for LinkedIn and Twitter. I'll go ahead and click Insert, and you can see in this case that I'm receiving a message that some of the fields selected require the form to be reloaded. So I'll need to close out of the form and then reopen it in order to see the changes that I've made to the personalization. Here you can see the new LinkedIn and Twitter fields are added. If I go into edit mode, I would have the ability to modify and edit or update the information for the LinkedIn and Twitter profile information for each of my workers. The same basic process can be used from any page throughout the entire Dynamics 365 for Talent experience. Let's close this window down and we'll go over to System Administration. Then I'll click on the Links tab of the workspace, and then we're going to open up Personalization underneath the Setup area. This opens up a new screen. A system administrator can disable the personalization feature for all users by selecting No in the Enable Personalization slider. A system administrator also has the ability to delete all personalization for all users by using the button Delete All Personalization for All Users. Next, if we go to the Users tab, you'll be able to see a list of users. Here, you can select a user from the list. For my example, I'll select Alicia. You can see that personalization is allowed and explicit personalization is allowed. If you selected the No option on the System tab for Enable Personalization, the Explicit Personalization Allowed checkbox will override it. This is useful if the majority of users you want to restrict personalization, but you have a select few users that you do want to allow it for. The grid at the bottom of the form will show you any personalizations that this particular user has. You'll notice that there are buttons that allow you to delete, export, and import. If a personalization exists, you can highlight that particular personalization and click the Preview Data Queries to see the information about the data queries that the user has configured with this particular personalization. Next, on the Import tab of the Action pane, we have the ability to import personalization for a large number of users. So for example, let's say the benefits manager configured the benefits pages to have special layouts and screens that we want to use for all of the benefits users throughout the system. I could select a security role from the drop-down box. So for example, I'll scroll down and I will select, for my example, the payroll manager. And here I can see all of the users that have that particular role. I can now select all of the users and click the Import button. I would browse to the file that has the personalization that I exported from another user or from the Users tab of the System Administration Personalization form, and then click OK. I don't have a personalization file to import, so we're going to click Cancel. Lastly, on the Clear tab of the Action pane, we have the ability to clear personalization for multiple users at the same time. This is useful if you want to reset all of the users in a specific role or workspace back to a particular setting. You can select a specific form or workspace, which will clear all personalization for that specific form or workspace. You can also select a specific role. So again, if I were to choose the payroll manager, I can see the users that are part of the payroll manager role and any personalizations that exist. Because no personalizations exist, no records display. But I would mark the checkbox next to each user and then use the clear button to delete those personalizations. Users also have the ability to clear their own personalizations by using the personalization toolbar, and a system administrator can delete the personalizations for one user at a time as well. Let's take a look at that process in our next demonstration.